This might sound crazy if you're below the age of 20, but there was a time in my life growing up as a kid where I didn't want Adidas boots or Nike boots or even boots from Puma. I wanted boots from a brand called Lotto. True story. What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the sort of brand new, because it's kind of been out for a little while but nobody really knows about it, Lotto Maestro 200, which is a boot that normally retails for 140 euros. As of right now, it is exclusively available in Europe as far as I'm aware, but they have been marked down and you can get them for about 98 US dollars. And for that money, I don't think you're going to find anything better. Now, if you're relatively new to football boots, and you may have never even heard of Lotto, but this Italian-based brand, believe it or not, back in the early 2000s, was one of the most popular boot brands in the entire industry, and I think one that is largely responsible for the popularization of synthetic uppers, because while I say the focus of the brand was more so around leather boots, looking back, they had produced some of the best synthetic uppers that we had seen up until that particular point. By the time 2008 came around, though, the popularity of the Lotto brand really fell quite dramatically, to the point where they didn't go away completely, but their relevance kind of disappeared. They were still making decent boots, but nobody really cared anymore. 10 years later, and I'm here to tell you that the Lotto brand is back. So what I want to do in today's video is go over all the details of the Maestro 200, and as you can see by the honeycomb mesh-based upper, these remind me a lot of the OG Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1s, which is a very good thing. So if you want to learn all the details, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around, watch the whole video, and if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links for the Maestro 200 for about 98 US dollars for a top-end football boot. If you guys do end up enjoying today's video and want to see more reviews of Lotto boots and just smaller brands in general, please support this one with a like. And if you don't want to miss out on future content from me, if you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Now, while Lotto has been around for a long time, and I would definitely say is a reputable brand, even though you might not have ever heard of them, this is certainly not a style of football boot I would expect from them. They specialize in leather boots, they've made synthetic stuff in the past, but this is something completely different in that it's a mesh-based synthetic. And when you look at the boots very closely, you'll notice that it is specifically a honeycomb-based mesh pattern, which again reminds me a lot of that OG Nike Hypervenom Phantom 1. Now, the entire upper is not made out of that material. You can see that there is a seam basically where it transitions from blue to silver on the lateral side. The entire blue area is that Nike Skin-esque material, and then you can see the transition point here on the medial side as well, again where the color transitions. Now, there is no really good tech specs that are specific on what they're calling everything on this boot, so we're just going to call it a mesh-based synthetic, but for the sake of comparison, it's soft, it's flexible, and really, we credit the original Hypervenom Phantom 1 for any kind of synthetic upper that looks like this. I would not call this a direct copy by any means, because pretty much every brand at this point is making some kind of a mesh-based synthetic. The Phantom 1 with its Nike Skin upper was just the first to do it, but if you really like the feel of that original Phantom 1, this is pretty much the closest thing to that we've seen since that boot back in 2013? 12? I think it came out in 2013. So as you'd expect, this mesh-based material is soft, it's flexible, it has a little bit of a texturing on the surface because of that honeycomb base, but for the most part, it's left relatively smooth and there's not a ton of extra grip on the ball. Either way, it feels very premium, which is surprising considering that these are only $98. Now, one of the main design flaws of the Phantom 1 because of the Nike Skin upper is that it tended to overstretch after a little bit of use. Lotto has kind of addressed that point here with what they're calling a control fit frame, I suppose. Again, tech specs are very unclear on these things, but basically they have a thin, translucent plastic layer that is a little bit more rigid than the polyurethane you'll find across the mesh itself on both the lateral and medial side of the midfoot. You can see a little bit of an outline of this cage in white here as part of the design, and that is there to reinforce the midfoot, which it seems to do quite well. And to go along with that, there is actually a seam, a transition in material between the mesh-based synthetic and more of a standard synthetic that obviously is not going to overstretch, isn't as soft, but still works well. I think the transition point is far enough back to where it's not something that I would say is noticeable when you're wearing the boots from a comfort standpoint, and also doesn't impact touch on the ball. The laces, which are made out of this kind of weird ribbon-like material that I'm not a huge fan of, are off-centered, pushed to the lateral side ever so slightly, and then instead of a free-floating tongue, kind of like what we saw on that original Hypervenom Phantom 1, they instead have this kind of elasticated mesh free-floating tongue that's attached on either side, so it can actually twist from side to side, but it's not a true one-piece upper. And they actually have inserted a little bit of memory foam and lined the underside where the memory foam is located in a really nice synthetic suede. So you get this little bit of extra padding to cut down on lace bite and just improve overall comfort, and you're not going to have the issue of the tongue sliding from side to side. Really effective system, and I absolutely love the way that they've done this. Moving to the rear, you'll find that these do maintain a pretty standard low-cut construction, an internal plastic heel counter that is attached directly to the sole plate. More on that a little bit later. They've also included a pull tab, which I'm personally a fan of, and then the interior liner is a very soft synthetic suede material with quite a bit of padding as well. So as far as heel liners go, I really like this. The insole is fully removable, and as you can see, reads Lotto Professional Use. It has this really soft synthetic suede lining on top, and it's made from a single layer of this black foam. If I had to compare it to anything else right now, it's very reminiscent of the standard comfort insole you'd get with almost any Adidas product, although I actually think the quality of the foam is a little bit better. As far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, this is pretty typical Lotto. I know it looks a lot like the sprint frame from the Adidas brand that they originally introduced back in 2010. A lot of people like to compare these one-piece sole plate heel counters to that, but honestly, this is something Lotto has been doing for the longest time, and it's honestly not surprising that this has some kind of variation of this design. As far as the sole plate itself is concerned, it appears to be made out of a pretty standard plastic material, although it is quite light. The one quirk about this versus other sole plates that look like this is that it does have their Punto Flex technology, which you can see by the PFX branding right there. And basically that is another signature technology of the Lotto brand that adds a little bit of extra stiffness in the forefoot, kind of to give you that spring back effect. I've never found that to be a major feature, but just realize that this isn't quite as soft and flexible a sole plate as you might expect from boots that have this kind of design. Obviously there's plenty of reinforcement with the crossbar running through the midfoot area, even the crossing in the heel. So it's got, like I said, more rigidity than you might expect. And then as far as the firm ground stud pattern is concerned, it's similar to the Adidas layout, but with 4 studs along the outside rather than 3. So I would actually argue that this does feel a little bit more aggressive, and the length of the studs, being that this is an FG stud pattern, especially in the heel, are a little bit longer than average as well. The traction is quite good. It does feel more like a conical stud pattern than anything, but you can see that some of the studs kind of have this almost Pac-Man shape to them, which doesn't really change that much in regards to the amount of bite that you get, but the actual profile of the stud seems to be a little bit more narrow in profile. And I guess if I had to compare this to any other stud pattern out there right now, it reminds me a little bit of what Puma has currently with the Futures and the Puma ones, in that it's a conical stud, but it does dig into the ground pretty well and provide more aggressive traction than you might expect. And then finally, there's the weight. I think it's a fair argument to say that this has a lot of speed boot type elements, but if they're not light, none of that matters. So I'm gonna weigh them for you today in real time. On a scale, in a size 9.5 US, the Lotto Maestro 200 weighs in at a remarkably lightweight 6.8 ounces, which is the exact same weight as a pair of Nike Mercurial Vapor 12 Elites. But those cost $250. These cost $98. I guess if there's one thing that I can really point out as being just kind of cheap and weird about these boots are the laces. They're kind of these like flat ribbon-like laces that Nike was doing on their running shoes at one point in time. And I guess there's nothing wrong with them. I just think that they look and feel awful. Either way, I have swapped out the green ones for some metallic silver reflective SR4U replacement laces that obviously work really nicely with the silver on the boots. And I'd rather there just be more silver than green, to be completely honest with you guys, because I'm not a huge fan of the green highlights, period. Either way, if you guys are interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, these remind me so much of the original Hypervenom Phantom 1. I guess one thing that I'll say about some of the smaller brands is that the materials used, the shape, the overall fit can sometimes be a little bit quirky. But if I had a blindfold on and someone put these on my feet, I would guess it was something from one of the main three brands, Nike, Adidas, Puma. They feel that well made and that, I guess, well put together. There's nothing about this boot that feels unnecessary, which is often what you find with a lot of modern football boots because everyone's trying to do the next gimmicky thing. There's nothing gimmicky about this boot, which is something that I really do like. As far as the upper is concerned, it's soft, it's flexible, it's very comfortable, and just like that original Phantom 1, it's got the softness to it. It wraps your foot very nicely, but it doesn't feel like it's squeezing your foot, which is a common complaint of something like the Mercurial series. Some people really like that, some people don't. But these have the comfort, the tightness, but without feeling like your feet are being suffocated or something like that. So in that regard, I absolutely love the way that they fit and feel. As far as width is concerned, they definitely have some decent width to them, and I think will fit just about anybody. If you have really, really wide feet, they're a little bit more tight through the toe box area, but for most people, I don't think you're gonna have too many issues. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, is the Lotto Maestro 2 the best football boot that money can buy? No, it isn't. And I guess that's kind of my point. I don't think there has ever been a football boot that you can label as being the best. And the fact that I'm able to compare this $98 Lotto Maestro 200 to so many different top-end models available from much more popular, much bigger brands at this point, I think says a lot about the quality of this product. Is it the best speed boot, if we're gonna call it a speed boot on the market right now? Absolutely not, but it is as good as just about any speed boot that you can buy right now. Vapor 12 Elite, any of the X18 models, the Puma 1, the Puma Future, whatever you want to compare it to, this is on the same level in terms of overall quality and performance characteristics, which I think says a lot about the Lotto brand. And I guess from a value for money perspective, obviously you can get all of these boots that I've just talked about on sale as well, but the likelihood of finding a pair of Vapor 12 Elites for $98 versus something like this is very unlikely. So if you're on a budget and you're willing to try something a little bit different, maybe you just want to be unique but still have a great product, give these Lottos a try. And if you missed the Hypervenom Phantom 1, this wouldn't be a bad choice either. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of these extremely underrated football boots. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below, and that'll take you to the review page on my website where you will find buy it now links to get these in either the FG or the soft ground variation for about $98 US out of retailers from Europe, because as of right now, they are not available in the US anywhere, if you were wondering. Other than that, if you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.